This is the Sabbath School lesson for the first quarter, 2022.
Welcome to Lesson 11, Jesus, author and perfecter of our faith, ready for teaching on March 12. It's from the series In These Last Days, the Message of Hebrews. Our author is Dr. Felix Cortes, the Associate Professor of New Testament Literature in the Seventh-day Adventist Theological Seminary at Andrews University. And I'm your reader for today, Dr. Percy Harrold. Friday, March 11. From the little book Steps to Christ, page 70, written by Ellen G. White, we read, "By faith you become Christ's, and by faith you are to grow up in him, by giving and taking. You are to give all, your heart, your will, your service. Give yourself to him to obey all his requirements, and you must take all, Christ, the fullness of all blessing, to abide in your heart, to be your strength, your righteousness, your everlasting helper, to give you power to obey." End of quote. And from the same little book, page 105, God never asks us to believe without giving sufficient evidence upon which to base our faith. His existence, his character, the truthfulness of his word are all established by testimony that appeals to our reason. And this testimony is abundant. Yet God has never removed the possibility of doubt. Our faith must rest upon evidence, not demonstration. Those who wish to doubt will have opportunity, while those who really desire to know the truth will find plenty of evidence on which to rest their faith. It is impossible for finite minds fully to comprehend the character or the works of the Infinite One. To the keenest intellect, the most highly educated mind, that holy being must ever remain clothed in mystery. Canst thou by searching find out God? Canst thou find out the Almighty unto perfection? It is as high as heaven. What canst thou do? Deeper than hell. What canst thou know? Job 11, 7 and 8. End of quote. And that brings us to our three discussion questions for this week. 1. An early Christian scholar once wrote, "Credo ut intelligam." Latin for, "I believe in order that I may understand." Hebrews 11:3 says that by faith we understand. What is the relationship between faith and understanding? Why does faith often come before understanding? That is, why must we sometimes reach out in faith in what, at least at first, we don't understand, and then afterwards more understanding will come? Question 2. The Greek word pistis means both faith and faithfulness. Why are both meanings important in seeking to understand what living by faith means? How did the people in Hebrews 11 show by their faithfulness the reality of their faith? How can we do the same? And question 3. Though we understand that faith is a gift of God, what role do we play, if any, in receiving and maintaining that gift? Romans 12 verse 3 reads, "For I say, through the grace given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, as God has dealt to each a measure of faith." Inside Story. Our mission story this week is titled "Worshipping Like Jesus," and it's by Andrew McChesney. 3 years ago, the 13th Sabbath offering helped establish a community centre to reach people in Cambodia. But the community centre, an urban centre of influence, reached its first person before it even opened. 𝐃𝐒 𝐍𝐴 heard that construction work had started on the Essential Life Centre and that the wages were fair, so he asked project manager Gary Rogers for a job. Gary, a US missionary who works for Adventist Mission, had no immediate openings at the site in Battambang, Cambodia's second largest city, so he took 𝐍𝐴's phone number. 𝐍𝐴 returned a few months later, and Gary, learning he had welding and bricklaying experience, told him he could start work the next day. "Why wait until tomorrow?" 𝐍𝐴 said. "I can start now." 𝐍𝐴, a leader in his own Christian church, was surprised to learn that Gary began every workday with a 30-minute worship. He had never held a job with worship, and he liked it. As the group studied, he realized that things he was learning from the Bible were different from what his church taught. One morning, the worship focused on the seventh-day Sabbath. 𝐃𝐎 read in Luke 23 about Jesus dying on the preparation day, the sixth day of the week, and being buried before the sun set for Sabbath, the seventh day of the week. He saw that the disciples stopped their work for the Sabbath and that Jesus rested in the tomb. It wasn't until the first day that they brought spices to anoint his body. Surprised, 𝐃𝐎 told himself, then the seventh day truly is the Sabbath. Seeing 𝐃𝐎's belief, Gary asked, do you want to be like Jesus? 𝐃𝐎 didn't hesitate. Yes, I do, he said. If that is your desire, join us as we open the Sabbath together next Friday evening, Gary said, inviting him to an Adventist gathering. 𝐃𝐎 came on Friday and returned the next day for Sabbath worship. He was amazed at how people greeted one another saying, Happy Sabbath, Happy Sabbath. It made him feel that God could make him holy. As 𝐃𝐎 learned more about God, he began to return tithe. On Sabbath afternoons, he joined church members in helping the needy. He was baptized 18 months after starting to work on the construction site for the Essential Life Centre. And there's a photograph of 𝐃𝐎 right here on this page. Thank you for your 13th Sabbath offering that helped open the Essential Life Centre, an urban centre of influence at Battambang, Cambodia. Be sure to share this podcast of the Sabbath School lesson with your friends. Invite them to tune in every week. And may God bless you in your personal life. This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind, and It Is Written. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. Remember, God is always faithful.